Hello and welcome to Frost Over the World. I'm Stephen Cole, filling in for Sir David for this week. Later in the programme, do the Iraqi election votes need recounting? Actor and comedian Omid Jalili on his new film The Infidel, plus a leading US congressman on Barack Obama and a Chinese blogger on the dispute with Google. But first, Europe and the euro. EU leaders have been meeting today to thrash out a rescue package for the Greek economy with contributions both from euro members and the International Monetary Fund. For small economies like Greece, joining the single currency has been a torrid ride. So how has it been for an even smaller economy, like Slovenia? Well, I'm joined now by the President of Slovenia, Danilo Turk. Exactly a year ago, Mr. President, you told Sir David that Slovenia's Eurozone membership was a good thing for the country.
Yes, and I still believe it is. It has provided us with a layer of protection. Monetary stability is something that we appreciate in Slovenia. We were not always happy with the fact that the euro was strong and an export economy like the one in Slovenia could not take advantage of devaluation. We couldn't devalue, although it would have helped us in the circumstances. We are export dependent. But now we can appreciate the stability that we enjoyed, and also the euro is not as strong now as it used to be, and that will help our exports in the future.
How do you stand with a possible bailout, although the European Union isn't calling it a bailout of Greece?
Well, I would like to be very pedantic here. I don't think that immediate assistance is needed. What is needed is a very close supervision by IMF of the program that Greece has developed itself, and we hope that that program will work and that further measures will not be necessary. Should they become necessary, obviously then the EU solidarity will have to play a role.
How do you feel that the people of Slovenia would think about putting their hands in their pockets to bail out Greece?
Well, I think that that would be an important test, but we have joined the European Union as a system where solidarity is important. And we, I think, will understand that in that sense. But before that happens, I think Greece will have to demonstrate seriousness about the reforms, about the measures that they have announced to take. They have to reduce their public spending, and we hope that that will work.
Just reduce public spending? What do you want to see?
Well, I mean, to have the balance, the reduction of budget deficit and other effects visible. That is what we would like to see.
Do you see Slovenia and other Eastern European economies like Latvia, Slovakia, Poland as equal members of the European Union, like Britain, France, Germany?
We are new in the club, so we cannot be entirely with the same sort of experience, the same sort of influence, but we are learning and we are becoming ever more self-confident. So I believe that if one thinks about European Union in 10, 20 years from now, you would see the Eastern Europe as a first very dynamic economic space and also politically more articulate space than it is now.
Are you adjusting to Brussels, or is Brussels adjusting to you?
Well, Brussels is certainly not adjusting to us, but we see, when we were a candidate country, we wanted to demonstrate that we are good students of European Union rules and European Union ways of handling economic and other affairs. Now, we are still students. We still have much to learn.
So you're still new boys?
Well,
so
yes,
you're still being polite?
Well, we are still being polite. We will continue to be polite. We may become a little more pronounced, but polite we will remain.
If you got into trouble, heaven forbid,
yes.
trouble, your economy is bigger than Portugal's, which is in serious trouble. But if you were in trouble,
yes.
Would you see the EU coming to your rescue and bailing you out?
I have said already that solidarity is an important underlying value of everything that European Union is doing. So yes, the answer is we would hope for solidarity of others. But of course, we would do everything in our power to make sure that we don't need others' assistance.
What about Angela Merkel's statement that serial offenders should be expelled from the euro?
Well, that I think was a little extreme, but what it shows is that European Union didn't have and still does not have good mechanisms to deal with offenders. And that's a problem. We have expected that we will not have offenders, and therefore there is no need for mechanisms. And that, I think, has generated the need to bring in the International Monetary Fund, which is much more experienced and knowledgeable and has means to deal with situations which require corrections.
But isn't that an admission of failure, bringing in the IMF for the Eurozone?
Well, it's a realistic admission of realities, I would say. Failure, you know, in European Union, people believe that this sort of things would be prevented, that there would be no need to apply methods other than the Maastricht criteria, which require financial stability. And I believe that this is still a valid strategy, and that those kind of situations like the one involving the IMF now will not be repeated, or not at least not very often.
You worked for a long time at the United Nations.
Yes.
How do the two organizations compare?
I think the bureaucracy of Brussels is much more demanding, it's much stricter, it's better organized, and is tougher. UN is a softer organization in that regard, and of course it is more diverse. It covers the whole world, and it covers all kinds of agencies. So it's different, and I would say in general it is softer.
And just a couple of questions to finish with, Mr. President. But there is discussion today about a new European economic government.
Yes.
Would you sign up to that? Because it seems to be an addition to the Lisbon Treaty.
Not necessarily. I like the English word governance. And I think that also in some of the Prime Minister Brown's proposals, the term used was governance rather than government. And I think that in the European Union one has to use the existing mechanisms, the existing institutions, in a way which would guarantee an appropriate quality of governance.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference is that we don't need additional bodies, we need better coordination, we need a better understanding of responsibility of each member state, and that's governance. But government smacks of an institution, of an authority which is placed above member states, and I think that that's not really necessary.
And is Slovenia ready to let Croatia join the EU now?
Yes, absolutely. We're actually very much in favor of that. As you know, we have had a dispute over the border, and that dispute is now being placed before an arbitration. So we are on the way to dealing with that aspect, which is politically very sensitive. But in general, the two economies are compatible. We need each other. We have discovered that once again. And I believe that Slovenia has a great deal to gain from Croatia's membership in the European Union.
Excellent, Mr. President. Danilo Turk, thank you very much
for
joining us today. In a minute, I'll be discussing the surprisingly close election results in Iraq. But that's after this short break.